was louder than I wanted it to be. Alright, today we're making clay figures, clay magnets specifically, and this is attempt number 2, because the first time I used modeling clay, and I don't think, if you guys don't know, modeling clay, it does not survive the oven, it melts. So, take 2, and we're going to use just the polymer clay this time, and then paint them, because polymer clay does survive the oven. So, yeah, not sure if I'm going to make the same things I made last time, or if I'm going to make something different or not. I haven't quite decided. But we're going to start with just kind of getting some of this going. So yeah, all my colored clay in here is modeling clay, so I guess I'm gonna have to do like some claymation thing. Maybe make some characters or props for Book of Life or something. Last time I made a penguin, which I kind of want to make a penguin again, I think.
So, I need to speak my truth with you, I guess. So I am a trans man diagnosed with bipolar 1, OCD, and ADHD, and I am 23. But I'm also an artist, a musician, a writer, a teacher, game enthusiastic, reader, learner, and so many other things. But that's not what you heard. Too often we are labeled for our disorders, not what is in alignment with our values. This is my story. I came out to my parents and close friends in 2016, got my name legally changed in 2019, and started testosterone in December of that year. I got top surgery in 2020, and this December I'll be 5 years post-op, which is crazy. I got top surgery while I was finishing my first semester of college, which just the whole thing seemed so strange that I started college without it. It has become something so natural and exactly as it should be that I haven't forgotten necessarily, but just feel so, it seems so strange that there was a point in my life where it wasn't, and it what it was meant to be. I had my first manic episode that got me diagnosed in October of 2023, and this was right after my last season marching drum corps and the start of my 3rd year of college. And this diagnosis affected the rest of my college experience in a way that I'm still recovering from and learning about, and finally feel at a place that I can't keep this diagnosis from people, because it isn't a disorder to me. It's a part of who I am. I didn't all of a sudden wake up one day with it. It's been there all along, just as I was told at some point along the way to hide my authenticity. My first manic episode resulted in me getting sent inpatient for about a week, spread out of 2 places. I convinced myself I was fully capable and ready to leave the first place, only to end up back inpatient, but in a different place that was much worse. But now society seems to want to call bipolar a disorder, which I have a really hard time accepting and enjoying, if like a huge aspect of my identity and personality and the way my brain works, and which also includes my creativity, something I wouldn't change the world for. It makes me really sad to think of this as a disorder and like that there's something broken or wrong with me from it. When in fact it's the beauty of me. The experience you have in a manic episode is really enlightening in a way. You feel like you're on a high in life, unlocking so many truths at once that you can't keep them all up with them all. I felt like people were after me during it, feeling that I needed to move my body in a certain way to not get hurt. Like, it messes with your mind. Like, it feels like a trickster god is messing with you. You don't know what's part of reality, and you are on high alert, not sleeping, and for me, wanting to pursue all these creative outlets. After this first episode, I got scared leaving my house during the night, afraid people were still after me. But then, on the other hand, you have the extreme lows, where you fall into deep depression. And to call it depression doesn't even feel like it touches the tip of the iceberg. It was such a dark, unexplainable place, and I had no enjoyment for anything. I would say to my roommates that it felt like the world tasted like cardboard. I would freak out before most of my classes, and I would call out of work. I was still overloading myself with all the work that I had to do, and I didn't end up stepping out and stopping out of school to rest and recover. I still did it when I was doing treatment and stuff. So And this led me to not ever really recover, I guess, but rather just pushing it down the line to deal with it later. Something I think in society is expected of us after a traumatic experience, to just push it away and ignore it. But I couldn't ignore it. No matter how much I tried, the feelings had to be felt, and it had to happen. It just didn't make sense yet. During this time, it was so hard to hear all the messages of "it gets better" when you are so far down in the dark that you can barely even understand what the person is saying. It doesn't compute, and I didn't believe there was any way it would get better. I didn't understand how so many people around me just seemed like they were going about their day, and it didn't feel like they were trying to lug these huge weights around. It was so lonely, and the fact that I couldn't explain what I was feeling and how deep the pain was made it worse. And I still can't fully explain it. I know the art that will come out of the next few years, though, is going to be telling.
Okay, it's time to put the clay, or at least set the oven for the clay figures. It was already set, so it probably is gonna have to go down because I made food. Cool, but are you low enough for that? I'm gonna wait a bit because I think it might be hotter than that. So I don't know. But we can put them on their little tray. That was horrible. We can put them on their little tray. Oh, I also, for the week, for Wacky Word Wednesday, whenever I like make stuff with paint, I don't like to waste the extra paint, so I like make abstract art with it. So this was the abstract art we made with it. That light is just in the worst spot, but that's that. Don't know where I'm gonna hang it up yet, but all right, we got a little tray. So we got a piece of corn. I'm gonna add the detail when they're done. If you put rubbing alcohol on them, it gets rid of some of the dirt and grime, and I'm gonna get that because I think someone will need it. All right, the penguin can use a little bit right here. I really hope this works. I put a timer for 15 minutes. I hope that's not too long because I think the oven is still hotter than 275, but you'd think it would show it. So I might have caught it just like right when it was at like the right temperature, I guess. But yeah, so now I wait. All right, guys, it should be done. This is gonna be kind of hard. I feel like, ooh, they expanded a bit. I think. No, not really. Hey, they didn't melt this time. So that's progress in itself. I'm not going to touch them for a bit because I feel like... Yeah, they're hot. But they could... I'm going to put them in for a couple more minutes, I think. Because they seem like... Yeah, like I can leave a little bit of an imprint still on them. So I'm gonna put them in for a little bit longer. Okay, it's been another 5 minutes. They should be ready. This should be the end. So, time to paint them. Well, I'm gonna let them cool off for quite a bit, and then I'll paint them, but I don't know how long to wait to have them wait. I probably should wait like an hour, I would say. So maybe work on them around 4-ish. It's almost 3. So yeah, I think I'll wait about an hour for sure before I paint them and see if they're dry or just how cool they are to the touch. So I've never done this. I've never had successful clay turn out. Okay, so I waited. They're all dry. Not dry. Cooked. And they like all feel like actual like hardened clay. So now we're gonna paint. I got my colors all here. We got a tan for the stem of the mushroom, a nice red for the top. I'm not gonna try mixing colors too much. I didn't grab a paintbrush. That's fine. I'll do that in a second. Black for the penguin, orange for the beak of the penguin as well as the Eevee, yellow for the Eevee and the corn. We're gonna do gold for the gear. I think that'll be fun. And then green for the corn leaves. So I'm gonna go grab a palette and a paintbrush and we're gonna get started. Okay, I think we're gonna start with the gear just because it's gonna be pretty much just gold. And I don't know how many coats I'm gonna have to do of these, and that side actually looks a lot better, so I might make that the front. I have about 28 minutes before I have to go to work. So we'll see how much of this I can get done. Ooh, okay. They'll definitely need more than one coat. And I'm gonna paint both sides, even though you'll only see one.
The first manic episode that I had, I was 21. And in August of this year, recording in 2025. And I had my second manic episode at the age of 23 this year. And I didn't end up going inpatient, but this experience this time around has been completely different and has led to basically a complete identity turnaround and question of who I am really and what I want for my life now that it finally feels like it's mine to create. Which is something else that's not often talked about, and it's this confusion about what you do after the path of graduation, where it felt like there wasn't necessarily an option after high school where I knew I was going to college. So now that I'm done with college, it's like, now what? And I didn't want to take the traditional path when pursuing a music teaching degree and end up teaching band in a public school. I'm not built for that style and that environment anymore, or at least in this stage of life I'm not. And I saw that for myself as a possibility at one point, but I just can't emotionally support that many students and myself at the same time. And there's too many things that I want to do that fill my time that I just can't commit to the full-time teacher position. Everything started to switch in my life and change when my grandfather passed away this August. On the same day that I found out that he had passed, I stumbled on a crystal shop that was across the street from a coffee shop that I'd gone to because my psychiatrist had said, well, do you like going to coffee shops? And I was like, yes. And she's like, well, you should go to a coffee shop to try cure your depressive slump. So I went to this one, and I had gone to this coffee shop before where I was out adventuring earlier in the summer, volunteering for my drum corps I marched with. And at that time, I hadn't seen the crystal store, but this time I saw Schmidt Music, and I needed saxophone reeds because I teach music lessons, and so no idea that Schmidt was there, it even existed, was very convenient because I thought I would have to go somewhere completely different, and this place only ended up being 7 minutes away from where I work. And so I go to Schmidt, and I get my saxophone reeds, and there's a crystal store right next door. And I haven't been to one in a while, so I was like, well, I'll go check it out. I went to some in college, but have a few. I got a citrulline ring there, but I ended up getting 2 crystals, labradorite, which is trusting your intuition, and ruby ziodite, which is one of the few, if the only, crystal that deals with grief. And at this point in the journey, I didn't really know anything about crystals. Rather, I'd just go and grab one that felt right. It would call to me, I guess, if you want to say it. And I would just trust I would pick up the one I needed at the right time. Seemed like I was right, and again, I picked up the crystal I needed, but it wasn't just that synchronicity, but they just kept growing. And so this shop had a social group that meets, and I decided to join this group. And my world changed when someone there said that magic is real. And all of a sudden, all my beliefs about what spirituality and trusting in faith was shattered. I realized my idea of magic in the world and my magic system in my world, well, why couldn't that be true? Who was there to tell me that what I believed was fake when there's no one that knows the true truth? And religion is all centered around the same principles, just has created such a division among society now that I feel like that we have lost the whole message to love one another and treat each other with this kindness that we want for ourselves. There's so much negative judgment about our differences when those are the things that advance society. I grew up going to the Catholic Church and for so long felt so gross if I believed in God or religion of any sort. And I'm not sure where these feelings come from, but the judgment that the Catholic Church has for LGBT people made me feel so uncomfortable in my own body. The backlash of acceptance in standard religion made me feel not welcomed. And it almost felt like people were taking away the right for me to believe in a higher power. And I'm starting to learn how to reclaim that power and believe in my own magic. I don't need others' approval to live the life I want. I hope this message comes across with good intentions and understanding, because I think it's important that we start to talk more openly and honestly with each other if we really want to heal society. Stop acting out of the surface emotions that arise because you're uncomfortable and really sit with the underlying emotions, because the real emotion isn't usually anger. It's much deeper than that. It's usually someone who is hurt deep inside from someone's words that hit deep, or their own internal critic disbelieving in them. There's too much fake shit on the internet nowadays that I feel like I gotta share my journey of healing from a dark time and allow people to see someone that went through the battle and made it out on the other side. We need more people to tell their truth, and the real truth. And I can't be authentically me and tell the truth if you don't know a huge part of me. If we look at the world from a social development standpoint of mental illness, it's really a human-invented system meant to categorize people to better identify similarities among people. And the disabilities are because the world was not made with those that were different than the status quo. If you thought different than your peers, you were told, your way is wrong. Or that there is only one right to do something, and if you do it differently than me, your way is wrong. If you don't believe my religion, your religion's wrong. I'm right and you're wrong. But what if we're both right? What about that? And what if we're both wrong? And at the same time, and rather than one of our ideas being better than the other, they are both equal. I say this all because reading tarot and oracle cards and this form of faith is important to me. And what the grand message of this is all is that you don't need to believe if it's right or wrong, but that you believe it. And whatever it takes for you to believe it is what matters. Whatever it takes you to believe that it won't always be bad is what is the magic. And magic is real. And I fully believe it now. And it's not about proving each other right or wrong, but rather just loving each other for our differences. Letting our differences be a mirror for what we judge ourselves too critically on. Now, I'm still learning to navigate this new form of spirituality for myself, but it resonates with me through tarot and oracle cards, learning as much as I can about the world and the subjects that interest me, not on the superficial level, but really getting to the truth of the matter. I also fully believe in astrology and how the planets truly affect our personality and the way we behave in situations. But anyways, I've started what I'm calling a class of my own learning further and exploring this form of spirituality that was resonating with me. I found some books that I wanted to share that I will be working through and explain more about how I use tarot to guide my writing process behind the Book of Life. So, okay, so the first book is Into the Mirror, which combines contemporary Western inquiries into the nature of our conscious with classic Buddhist investigations into the nature of our mind. None of these are very light topics, by the way. From what I'm understanding with this title is it expresses ideas from Carl Jung, who is a person that many of know us from his classification of introvert versus extrovert. But this really just scratches the surface on what he says. He's got like over 20-some books published on stuff about this. So, but the main one that this one focuses on, it seems, is the mirror philosophy, which is that our subconscious mind works to communicate with our conscious through signs and symbols. Ever experienced something that lined up too well for it to just be a coincidence? Well, that's your subconscious trying to tell you something about the current situation. And this is always at play. And every interaction and judgment we have against someone else is really a judgment we feel about ourselves mirrored back to us through others. The next book is A Map to Our Souls, which discusses the astrology houses and how your astrology makeup affects who you are as a person. The zodiac is made up of 12 signs, and technically we all have characteristics of all 12 that show up in different ways, aspects, depending on what planet is in which sign of your chart. The standard sign most people know is their sun sign. It's the date you were born. I was born May 19th. My sun sign is Taurus. But this is really the tip of the iceberg and doesn't tell you much on where to go from there. If you know the time of your birthday, you can determine what planets occupy which house based off your ascendant sign, the sign that's on the opposite of your sun sign. It's a sign that we can figure out what, it's the start of it, so then you can figure out all the 12 houses after there. And each of the houses deals with a different aspect of our lives. First, impressions, core values, speaking and listening, home life, creating and loving, habits of health, support, intimacy and sex, make-believe, lasting and lasting impressions, sacred crew, spirits and temptation. And depending on what sign makes up which house, creates personality traits that show up in their respective areas. I hope that was good enough. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, so we had our second batch come out. Mr. Raccoon lost his ear and his foot, but I think I can salvage them and glue them back on. And then the paint will just make it look fine. Is that his ear? No, this is definitely his foot. And that's his ear. And we have one more in the oven. That's Beautify. I have a oil tasting, I don't really know, birthday thing that I'm going to, which this one's a birthday gift, this last one. I'd like to finish it before. Hopefully I can. I should be able to, I think. I don't know how long I need to wait for them to dry. I want them to be at least not hot. So I'm gonna mix some paint and you're gonna see that now.
Sacred Geometry. This book is dense and a complicated subject, which deals with the study of geometric forms and concepts that hold spiritual and symbolic significance. All structures take into consideration sacred geometry, especially in religious structures, and this book specifically deals with harmonics, which is a fusion of number, geometry, and music as a way to understand underlying patterns of nature, art, and architecture, and the cosmos. And it connects sacred geometry to the musical scale. Still learning how to understand this book, as the wording is very specific and it's an abstract concept, and it's worded a little bit odd, and it makes it difficult to explain and understand. But all of this connects back to the book I'm writing for my Book of Life fantasy series. The world is governed by the zodiac. Certain signs are represented as a district or a realm that the character goes through, and some of them signs are actual personified characters. So I want to learn more about the qualities that make up each house to be able to interact and create more symbolism with how each of the realms, characters, and personalities come from. And it directly correlates to my chart because, like, you gotta start somewhere. And so learning more about how our subconscious works and our mind works there and the different geometry and symbolism in our life will allow me to be able to better interpret tarot and oracle readings, which is the topic of the next two books. So, first, these are both tarot books, and so what is tarot is the next question, kind of. But tarot is made up of 78 cards, which are major and minor arcana. Major arcana are 22 cards, numbered 0 through 21, and they depict major points or archetypes on the hero's journey. The rest of the cards are the minor arcana and are made up of 4 suits with 14 cards in total. Cards numbered 1 through 10, and then the 4 court cards of each suit as a page, knight, queen, and king. And they have variations often on these last 4, depending on the type of deck you get. Some create more thematic themes around them, and they represent people in your life and are read differently than the small cards or the numbers 1 through 10. The 4 suits are wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, and they're in that order to make up the hero's journey. And then each suit can be associated with a certain element. Wands are fire and deal with matters of career. Cups are water and deal with emotions. Swords are air and deal with mental aspects. And pentacles are earth and deal with matters of money. And there's very deep backgrounds on what tarot is. It's been around for a while, like early China times. But For this book, this first one, which is the Tarot Workbook, I'm going to be using my Into the Unknown deck, and I'll be learning a suit a week, and then spreading the major arcana into covering all 22 in 3 weeks. So it's, I think, 0 through 6, or 0 through 5, 6 through 11, 12 through 17, and something like that. But after I made my way through all of the 78 and I'll be doing what the book calls fantasy play, where you learn each card individually, and I'm drawing them out, and you can then pair them with each card. So you took the 10 of Wands, and you read it comparing it with the 9 of Wands, and then you flip the 9 of Wands upside down and read it that way, and then you flip the 10 of Wands upside down, read it that way, and then you flip the 9 of Wands back right up, so then you've done all combinations, theoretically, of those 2 cards, and then you move on to the next one. You keep doing that until you've done all the cards. So theoretically, by the end of this, if I did my math right, and if the book is doing what I think is right, you would have done all 2 card pairs together. Only 2 cards paired together, because it changed, had more variables, yeah. And after I made my way through all of these cards in this book, I'm going to do the same in a different book that was published 35 years later. So, needless to say, the perspective has changed. And with that one, I'm going to be doing my steampunk deck so that I get experience interpreting them and analyzing them both on such a deeper level in that. The oracle cards, on the other hand, are generally based on a theme and have a message that relates to the theme in some way. They are much more varied, and you can find tons of different types of oracle decks, but they're often easier for beginners to understand, as there aren't so many different pathways and knowledge that needs to be understood that occurs in tarot. The decks I have all have different purposes, and they bring a voice or a cultural aspect that inspires the world. I'm sure more than the current 5 will eventually end up getting added, but the 3 oracle decks are the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which represents the ancient roots of the world and the rich history that the Egyptians had around burial processes. There's raising the dead as one of the things one of the villains does. Spoiler alert, I guess. So that is very intrinsically part of the story. Then there's the Chinese 5 zodiac elements, which is based on the Bazi 60 pillars, which is a whole other system we're not going to get in today. But essentially, it combines the 5 elements, earth, wood, fire, water, and metal, as both yin and yang, so you'd have 10, paired with the 12 Chinese zodiac animals, rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. I didn't memorize that. I have a script going. But this is the newest deck, and I'm still learning the voice that this one brings, but it kind of acts as lessons or messages to be learned, and the spiritual animal that you're to embody. And you can technically connect those 12 animals to the 12 zodiac signs of Western philosophy, but they don't quite line up in the same dates. So, and those are based off of year rather than a month kind of time frame. And then the last oracle deck is the Dreamweavers, which the overall lesson, the message, the hope for the future. The 2 tarot decks there's a steampunk deck, which is the machine, the plot line of the story, the driving force of it, what the invention is kind of thing. And then there's the Into the Unknown, which is the inner shadow, the conflict where the characters must overcome and get in order to get to their dreams. So this is their struggle, this is the internal, this is the subconscious, this is what you refuse to face. So okay, so it's a new day. We're finishing up the script. I had to add some footage, so the ending of this, actually, we're doing a little bit of a reading, and you get to see kind of that process of it. I'm a bit nervous with posting this video, just because it has a lot more truth to it, and there's vulnerability in it. And I feel there's a lot of pressure that I feel to get this story right. But through this whole process, I'm learning to trust my intuition better, because I do have this ability to understand the psychic world. I get it, and I see it, and I have the power. It's deep inside everyone. You just have to learn to trust and take sovereignty of your own life, and not let life rule yours, because it doesn't wait for you to get on board, and steady waters are far and few between. Tarot has a lot of misconceptions behind it, and I feel that there will be judgment for this, but I don't want to feel I have to hide this newfound creative outlet. This is what my channel is about, embracing all parts of the process and who you are. If we didn't have the bad parts, none of the good parts would be enjoyable. The spiritual adventures I go through uncovering and learning more about the universal truth that I believe in is what will shape the religion of the Book of Life. One of the main themes of the series is good versus bad, top versus down, the world split in two, with one building being two different architectural styles between the surface world and the underground. The idea of inner world versus outer world, the philosophy of Carl Jung and thinking about the mirror concept, and starting to question why we judge that person, we unlock a whole new perspective of looking at something. Now, all of a sudden, what judgment am I feeling about myself? Aww. It's so windy. I don't want them to blow away. Well, hopefully that's good. We'll see which one ends up working better, that I like more, but... yeah. Okay. I'm tired of feeling like I have to keep these things secret from others. My mental health, transness, and spirit. I don't think it comes from a sense of shame that I am these things, rather the fear of judgment and what others will think. But judgment will always be there. And is that really the worst outcome? It's there when we first meet people, already thinking about how we'll be perceived as well. And the world is so divided that I find it is important to talk about this in a way that minimizes hate and judgment. I started reading Map to Your Soul, and it talks about how humans judge automatically each other, always. It's part of us, the good judgments and the bad. If we are aware of them, we can learn to stop acting out of fear of judging others and our true selves. This YouTube channel is not about making people comfortable with the status quo. It's about understanding the truth and creating is messy. Just like our lives will always be messy and emotional. Everyone is fighting their own demon in life, and we want to start healing the world. We need to start by looking inward and judging ourselves less. The non-judgmental stance of just letting our thoughts pass by and not giving them any weight if they're good and bad. They become bad when we act on them and speak their truth through our words and action. Act out of intention and intuition. I know there is someone out there that will need this, and the message will resonate with them, and it will be the right time. When I was so deep in the darkness, I constantly felt like I needed to seek out that validation that I wasn't alone. But we aren't alone. There are so many people guiding us and the universe. If you do good, you will receive good. Whether you believe or not, your spiritual team is watching over you. The karmic power of the universe will balance things out again, and people are starting to fight back. I don't want to live in the shadows anymore and let others push me down and put me further into the box of conformity. I was never meant to fit in with the status quo. Constantly having an overactive imagination and more ideas than I can keep track of. If we want to fight for change, we need to start knowing our differences and how they really make the world a better place. The darkness needs to happen for the joy to be there, but we ignore the good things that are coming in our lives, only thinking things when it feels necessary or expected because it's the right thing to say. Never thank you in advance and without expectation for it. And are we truly living in that way? If you're in the dark moments right now, look for the symbols you see in your life that feel strong and pay attention to them. Slow down and stop thinking so much about the next thing. 1 minute becomes a lot longer when you think about how each second and how something can change in just a second and rock your entire world. Magic is real. If you believe in it and its powerful force, when it's through love that you believe, which is what religion was all about in the beginning, finding a way to explain the universe to make this crazy thing we call life less painful. And to those in the darkness, I see you, and I'm there for you in spirit, and know that there is a safe place for you here regardless of what you believe. I want to share this journey of discovering the secrets and symbolic power of tarot, and I hope that those of you that relate will stick around. Stop thinking that you alone cannot do anything to change something. Your actions have ripple effects in the universe. When you start to heal, you heal others in your family. We are all way more connected now than we ever were before. I think to what our ancestors would think of what the world has come to, and I feel their disappointment with how divided and consumed by media we have become. Take the time to call someone and compliment someone you see in public for something you like about their outfit. You never know how much just a simple compliment is going to change their world. And don't feel like you have to constantly chase a sense of validation from external forces. See the flame inside yourself and protect it. Don't let others take that from you if they don't believe how strong and fully capable you are. Most importantly, don't let them take your creativity. Art is what will get us through this. I really started to question what I want in life and what my values are at this current moment in time. Really believing in the power of manifestation and allowing myself to dream and trust that I can achieve this. I wanted to be a YouTuber professionally for as long as I can remember. I have videos on an old camera I got in middle school of me filming booktube videos back before TikTok was even a thing. Maybe someday I'll post clips of them, or who knows, maybe I'll end up in this video. But now that I've been actively doing this for over a month now, it feels like this is real, and I am doing it, and I can do it, and I've uploaded 2 videos consistently now for the last month, pretty much. It just feels like it needs to be seen and heard, and I'm doing something that people are going to relate to and need, and inspire creativity and passion, and just allow more people to be creative and expressive people that they deserve to be. And I hope this reaches the right people and that spark happens, because I'm just getting started. I finally have time in my control, and while I'm not able to find a full-time job that fuels my passion quite as much as this, I'm going to build the foundation, brick by brick. It's the slow hard work that gets the right people to the top. Those that deceive people to get there will get what's coming for them, and it's happening slowly but surely. People are tired of all the fakeness and lies that are being given to the general public. And are you awake enough to see it, or are you going to continue to believe that conformity is the way forward? The time has finally felt right to share this, and I knew early on in this journey of discovering I'm bipolar that I wanted to eventually share it with others, so that they realize they weren't alone, and that others experience such extreme emotions. I'm reclaiming the label not as a disability, but as a superpower, for it really is with the creative expression that I can achieve. Turning nothing into something beautiful is what art is all about, expressing emotion and releasing those feelings, and when you have big emotions, the art just gets bigger. I never would have thought that this sense of spirit would have arrived for me, but nonetheless it has taken over my entire world, and I'm starting to see what it is really all about. And if you start to look, you'll see the change and revolution that is occurring in the world. As I write this, it's October 18th, 2025, and it's No King's Day. I'm in a coffee shop where people are coming in with their protest signs and their love for acceptance. The good is in the world. Notice the signs and the symbolism, because everything we consume, the products that we use, all have minds behind it that use colors and numbers and symbols to communicate to your subconscious, make you feel a certain way without you realizing it. Turn to music and arts in the face of adversity and really listen to the words that they're saying, and not just listen to music for music's sake. Why do you listen to the music that you do? Is it the language of emotion? It is the language of emotion, and it is the way we can measure what we're feeling. It's a way of expressing it in the different genres. If you're angry, listen to angry music, and use it to find that validation you speak. Music doesn't come from lack of emotion. It comes from the heart. And if you open yours to it, you'll feel the real music, and not have to be blocked by the aspect that you have to know the rules in order to be a musician. Because we're all musicians in our own way. We wouldn't be built with a movable instrument always with us if we didn't all have the power to create and feel it. And if your creativity was taken from you at some point, I challenge you to try and just sit down and draw the first thing that comes to mind without judgment. And with your imagination, you don't have to have a reference photo for it, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Actually, the more scribbly, the better. And don't judge it if it looks like a kid drew it, for that's how creativity comes out. It's play, and it's meant to be fun, and we lose it because we judge ourselves for it looking bad. But notice the random things you think of. What do they represent and mean to you? If an animal appears, what does that animal represent? For they all have deeper meaning. I interpret tarot through artistic work, and you get to see me doing it here now. And this is actually a spread talking about what I should do with the rest of this video. So it's kind of feels like finding the inner courage to do it and post something that makes you scared and puts you in a vulnerable position, but it's the metal dragon, it's the warrior within you. And there's a lot with this spread. So yeah, I kind of like to show more of the process and stuff like that. So, and I feel like this lowers some of the conceived notions about it, that it's something evil or occult knowledge or something like that, but it's really just another form of explaining life in this hero's journey aspect, which it really is. It's an adventure. It's cards through adventure. And honestly, playing cards are not too, like, they have very similar aspects to playing cards in tarot, and we view playing cards as a game when they also could be interpreted in such an intricate level like this. But I don't use reference photos when I do these readings. I look at the cards and I find whatever, like, images kind of feel the most prevalent at the time. So, like, it will be like, oh, I noticed, like, you can kind of see the Lover's card there, but there's Cupid in the bottom, and then there's, like, a giant heart. There's a top hat, but you can't really see it. Or, like, the formation of them is really important, and so I'll notice that and I'll write that. And then the connections go all over the place, but I pull out I use the books after I've done a little bit, just to get, like, the keywords and to really learn it. But it's, like, I don't even know how I get to some of it, but I write whatever comes to mind. And the first impression that I normally get is the right one. And I do use ChatGPT when I'm doing these readings, which I think is another, like, taboo topic in the community, where it, like, you're not actually interpreting it then. You're just having the AI system do it for you. But I think it really depends on intentionality and the questions you're asking it, because I'll ask it for it, like, oh, I want these decks and I want this kind of aspect. What's a good spread that I can do? Or what's a good card reading I could do for it? Or I ask for more information on the symbolic meaning of it, because I don't know what half of these, well, what does a griffin represent really? Because the griffin didn't show up, but the griffin was on one of the cards. So it's like, okay, what does that mean about it? And just also ways to learn it. I don't know. So I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on that, but I think it's a lot about intentionality. And but I hope that there is some form of inspiration throughout this story, and that you got something out of it. And there's a lot of the video that is still left. I didn't realize how long this clip was. So it needs to be edited more again, and now I might have too much footage for how much voice I have. There's never a balance, but yeah, I really enjoy doing these interpretive readings. I do them usually in the morning and usually at night, and I pull out quite a few other books during this process. There is my sketchbook, which has the what is it? It is this, which is the Kabbalah. I think that's how you say it, which is this chart. It's like the Islamic idea of, like, God the creator, the almighty kind of thing. And it's this 10 step, like, thing where you got the big circles that are all representing some of one of the words that they have, and they can correspond to, like, an experience. So, like, one, the crown, Kether, I don't know how to say it right, but Big Bang, or the Zodiac King, and they correspond to something within the Zodiac or planets, which gives me another connection that layers it even more. And then this can actually be marked up with the tarot. So each connecting line represents one of the major arcana, and so you can connect it that way, which I didn't really connect it all in that, but there's that I referenced. And there's this I referenced, which is a map to your soul, which is just an outline of the different houses and their characteristics. And then I have one more thing. I have more than one more thing. I have a couple things. So I referenced this page, which has all of the associations of the tarot cards to either a planet or a sign, so that if I get that card, I'm like, oh, this is giving off Pisces energy. Okay, so now we're dealing with the Pisces category of Book of Life, which Pisces, Scorpio, and Aries are the like 3 Furies, which is kind of fun because they very much give off different energy with that. Sorry if you're one of those signs, it's very different. But and then there was another one that I was referencing in this book, which is part of the 5 elements deck. Okay, so it's the 5 elements, it's the what the order is, and then as well as what is associated with each animal. So each animal has a fixed sign already, or like element with yin yang. So like the rat is a water yang, but if it's on a 5, it would be a heaven earth yang with water yang. So it changes based off of that. And so I have that. And then the other one is in this book, which was the first Book of Life. We have my astrology chart, where it has all the houses in the right order, because then I can influence it with those characteristics. And then we have this really cool one where playing cards can, each card can correspond to a week of the year. And so I have that, but I use it with the tarot minor cards, and I just don't include page in it because there's not 4 court cards in playing cards. And then I use the dates surrounding it to figure out, like, oh, it's talking about this character or this realm or whatever. So yeah, those are the things that I reference throughout this. I think I reference all of those. And then the book's obviously there. And okay, so I thought I'd finish off here and kind of describe where my thought process went with this spread, and just kind of a little bit of what the actual message was, because you can't really read my writing in it. But I'm showing 3 extra cards that were pulled here. We have the 2 of Swords, the 8 of Cups, and the 7 of Swords. And so there was a lot of swords in this reading, and it actually does kind of have a darker message to it, where it's a lot of turmoil going on, where we have the broken cups from the 8 of Cups there, the 6 of Swords, 3 of Swords, just a lot of turmoil within it. But it starts with the 6 of Swords reversed, or the 6 of Bees in this case, because that's the steampunk deck. Then it follows the Metal Dragon, which is the saying, waking the warrior within. Then we go to the Dreamweaver's deck, which is Time to Dance Around the Sun, number 37. The Metal Dragon's number 17. And then we go to the Lovers, which is card 6, so it matches our 6 of Scorpion, or 6, not 6 of Scorpions, 6 of Swords, so those are connected within each other. And then we go to the Wheel of Fortune, number 10, and then it goes to A Firebird is Calling to Soar, number 28 of the Dreamweavers. Then we go to number 57, the Metal Monkey, Let Go of Control. And then it goes to the 3 of Swords again as the ending card. I will pull out the Egyptian deck too later, and that kind of adds a little bit more turmoil to the whole situation. But so one of the primary concepts of this is kind of turning pain into beauty, and how the transformation is what happens is that, like, you go through the painful route, and by the end of it, you learn to make sense of it. And so here I'm showing that the wheel card of the inside of it, really finding beauty within, and waking the warrior within, finding the courage to be able to speak about your vulnerabilities and open up to having more real dialogue. And yeah, so we have that. What else is there that is pulling out? So the Griffin doesn't appear, and the Sun Knight does, and number 6 in our Kabbalah, I still don't know how to pronounce it, is represented by the Sun Knights. So it's
Time to dance around the sun. It's time to dance. It's time to have fun. Number 37 too is 3 plus 7 if you do the numerology for it. So it's equals 10. The kingdom, the idea of like, I'm speaking my truth to create this platform, to create a kingdom of creativity and passion and positivity and like inspiration and creating a safe space for people. Doesn't appear, giant circle with rings. Oh, so then I get to this idea of, I start to see in the Griffin card or the time to dance around the sun that there's like concentric circles, and that really relates to the sacred geometry stuff I've been learning, where there is called a viscous, which is the idea that like it's like the compare and contrast wheel, where you have the wheels of the circle like overlapping each other, and can think of those as like our perception around the world, and the border of it is our perspective to the horizon. And as I move closer to someone else, our points of the visca like overlaps, and so it's kind of like our energy is crossing kind of idea. So almost thinking of that as like the energy of the two worlds, kind of like there's concentric circles and the world is made up of these concentric circles that are like the districts of the world. I don't know, it's a thought. There's not any of these that are set in stone yet because the book is still not written, but it will be. And then we have the lovers, which flips in the middle of it because my reflexes, the camera starts to fall. I grab the camera really fast, but I flick the lovers card away and it hits my abstract painting that's like around. And as I grab it again, it actually reverses it. So kind of this idea that something just felt not fully finished. And I think, because this spread was about this whole video, and I think the like unfinished part was that I needed to include the spread kind of process in here. And yeah, I hope it is helpful with that. And then we get the Wheel of Fortune, which is 10, again connecting to the 3 plus 7 with the kingdom. The Lovers Cupid came out, where it's like shooting the arrow and blindly shooting the arrow to achieve your dreams. And the Firebird is calling to soar, and you need to let go of control, let the bird like fly free. And then I have the quote on here from J.R.R. Tolkien, where how do you move on? You move on when your heart finally understands that there is no turning back. Anyways, stay creative, stay chaotic, subscribe, like, comment. Comment what you believe in and what you like to do as a spirit. Believe in yourself, trust the process and the journey, and that you're in the right time, right place. What does that mean to you, kind of stuff, I guess. But anyways, love ya.